What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in CoD WW2. In today's episode, we're going to be covering the Gewehr 43. Now first up, as always, let's get into some of the real life stats of this weapon. This is a German semi-automatic rifle that fires an 8mm Mauser at roughly 50 rounds per minute. Now technically this rifle will cycle faster than 50 rounds per minute, but since it is an 8mm Mauser, which is a relatively heavy caliber, and also when you look at the trigger configuration with a Gewehr 43, firing it in practical terms faster than 50 rounds per minute just doesn't make sense. So this is why I kind of had to approximate a little bit here. 50 rounds per minute would be to the point where you're really pushing that fire rate while still being somewhat accurate with the weapon. In CoD WW2, we get a really strange damage profile of 40, 35, 22. This means it's always going to be a 3 or a 5 shot kill. There is no 4 shot kill range with this weapon. It's very strange in the sense that it goes straight from a 3 shot kill range and it drops immediately to that 5 shot kill. Our rate of fire is obviously very much exaggerated from the real life weapon here because we can fire this all the way at 444 rounds per minute while staying on target, which is completely unrealistic for an 8mm Mauser, but when we're talking about game balance, it makes sense that it needs to be like this, especially considering the fact that it takes 3 to 5 shots to kill. With rapid fire, we bump this up to 472 rounds per minute, so this is the fastest firing semi-automatic rifle in the game. As for our statistical minimum time to kill, of course, this assumes that we are reaching that maximum fire rate and also we aren't missing any shots. Within the 3 shot kill range, it's not that great at 270 milliseconds. Keep in mind this actually matches the STG's time to kill up close, which isn't very good for the rifle category. It's usable, but not that great. And then when we drop off to the 5 shot kill range, since it drops immediately from a 3 to a 5 shot kill, your time to kill is just terrible at 541 milliseconds. Within the 5 shot kill range, this weapon simply doesn't compete with anything. So when it comes to the minimum time to kill, the only rifle that's worse than the Gewehr 43 is the M1A1 carbine. As for headshots, we get a standard headshot multiplier of 1.1 without high caliber, and this means that headshots are essentially irrelevant if you're not using high caliber. You're never going to reduce the number of shots it takes to kill by shooting the enemy in the head. Once we pop high caliber on there though, we get a 1.5 times multiplier, and this takes our headshot damage profile to a 60, 52, 33. This means that within the 40 damage range, which extends out to 25 meters, all it takes is 1 shot to the body and 1 shot to the head and you'll be getting a kill. This improves our time to kill massively in this game, and it actually becomes one of the fastest killing rifles in the game. When we get into our standard 35 damage range, which is from 25 to 50 meters, at this point you would have to hit 2 shots to the head in order to get a 2-shot kill, otherwise it's still going to remain a 3-shot kill, so headshots still really aren't doing much for you, unless they're both hitting them in the head. And finally, within the standard 5-shot kill range, in order to make that a 4-shot kill, you once again have to hit 2 shots to the head and 2 shots to the body. Getting into our ranges, as you can see here, our 3-shot kill range extends all the way out to 50 meters, which is excellent. Like I said before, we don't have a 4-shot kill range. It immediately drops off to a 5-shot kill beyond 50 meters. And I just want to point out again, that 40 damage range actually falls at 25 meters. So keep that point in mind. It's still going to be a 3-shot kill beyond that. But when it comes to headshots with high caliber, 25 meters is an important number to be looking at. And with advanced rifling, just like with all the other rifles, aside from the BAR, it actually doubles all of our damage ranges. So what that means is our 3-shot kill range now extends out to 100 meters, which is beyond basically any line of sight you'll find in this game. And also, very importantly here, our 40 damage range will double from 25 meters up to 50 meters, and this will have an effect when we're using high caliber and going for headshots. So make sure you keep that in mind. Our 40 damage range extends up to 50 meters now with advanced rifling. For hardcore game modes, the Gewehr is always going to be a 1-shot kill in hardcore up to 50 meters, and with advanced rifling, we can extend that all the way up to 100 meters to make sure that it's basically always going to be a 1-shot kill. As for Hipfire, I was quite surprised to see that the Gewehr 43 is actually tied for the best in class Hipfire in the rifle category. It's tied with the M1941 Johnson. Getting into idle sway, the Gewehr does have a little bit of idle sway. It's not the worst in the rifle category, but it's certainly not the best either. And if this was a full auto, I would say it wouldn't really matter so much. But since it's a semi-auto and it really relies on that precision, I will say that the idle sway is noticeable on this weapon. As for recoil, the Gewehr 43 does bounce around just a little bit, assuming you're firing at maximum fire rate like I am in these tests. It's generally a pretty accurate rifle, I would say, but it does have a bit of horizontal recoil, and this can screw you up at those longer ranges at times. It's definitely not as accurate as the M1A1, which basically fires every single bullet into the same hole, even if you're firing at maximum fire rates. And also, when we compare it to the Garand and the SVT-40, both of those kick almost perfectly vertically, so they're extremely easy to predict, and they're never going to bounce off target to the side. The Gewehr 43 sometimes will do that, and it is noticeable in the game. When you're trying to challenge those people at longer ranges, this can definitely screw with your shot. So a lot of the times I find if I'm challenging somebody at mid to somewhat longer range, I can't fire at the maximum fire rate. I have to kind of wait for my weapon to recenter so that I don't miss my shot. Moving on to magazine capacity, we get a magazine capacity of 10 rounds with 30 in reserve, and this is actually equal to the SVT-40. With extended mags, we can bump that up to 15 rounds with 45 in reserve, which is very nice to have with this weapon, especially considering the fact that we do have a pretty decent fire rate for a semi-auto, and we can burn through those 10 rounds pretty quickly. As for our reload add time, this is the amount of time it takes to reload without the unnecessary animation at the end. This is 1.39 seconds, which is quite good for the rifle category. It's definitely one of the faster reloading rifles in the game. Getting into our handling and mobility stats, there is absolutely nothing out of the ordinary here. This is just a standard rifle in this game. Our aim down sight and sprint out time is 250 milliseconds. Our movement speed is 95%, and our stray speed when we're aiming down sight is 40%. As for my recommended attachments for the Gewehr, I feel like the iron sights aren't bad by any means, but since it is a semi-auto rifle and it really relies on precision, I often use this with an optic. This is great with a 4x sight or a reflex sight. I wouldn't really bother with the lens sight so much. In addition to that, like I said earlier, extended mags I feel is a great choice for this. You can burn through those magazines relatively quickly if you're somebody that's capable of reaching that maximum fire rate consistently. And I often find myself only able to get 1 to 2 kills per magazine if I'm not using extended mags. So with extended mags, that allows me to get that third person before I need to reload. High caliber is also an excellent choice for this because from 0 to 25 meters, all I have to do is shoot them once in the body and once in the head, and I've got an extremely fast time to kill, and it's very, very effective for taking people out. And if I am using high caliber, I often want to combine that with advanced rifling so I can extend that 25 meter range out to 50 meters and make it that much more effective. Aside from that, the only other attachments that I ever really consider running are going to be quick draw as well as rapid fire, although I will say rapid fire is one of my last choices that I will actually consider putting on this weapon. Let's move on to a couple example classes I have for the Gewehr 43. First off, this one is with the infantry division, and I'm using primed on this. I'm not necessarily using primed for any sort of flinch reduction on this, because it did get nerfed pretty significantly there. I'm mainly running this for the extra attachment, because this particular setup really excels when going for those headshots. As you can see here, we're using a reflex sight, extended mags, high caliber, and advanced rifling. I've pretty much already described exactly why I would be running these attachments. The reflex sight allows me to be precise and aim for that head, which with high caliber and advanced rifling, all it takes out to 50 meters, which is the vast majority of my gunfights, is going to be one shot to the body, one shot to the head, and I'm going to be dropping those guys very, very quickly. And then extended mags is just a great addition to this so I can take out multiple enemies very quickly. I'm not running quick draw on this because most of the time I'm going to be playing relatively slow, pre-aiming things, and using that infantry division to strafe around corners when I expect to run into enemies. Our secondary, just like I always have, is going to be a machine pistol with extended mags, and my lethal is a sticky grenade. Getting into the second class, this is more of just a general purpose, running around, playing the objective sometimes sort of class. Once again, we are using infantry. This time we're also using hunker, so I can take those nades if somebody's throwing those nades at me. And we have quick draw, extended mags, and rapid fire. This is more so just for fun, running around, not so much aiming for the head. We're just trying to shoot people in the body as fast as possible. It's honestly not going to be the best class in the game. You are going to be outclassed by a lot of the other weapons when it comes to time to kill, but I do enjoy using this particular setup. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's video. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of the Gewehr 43 so far? Personally, I feel like it was a pretty nice addition to the semi-automatic rifles in this game. It's nice to see one that has a slightly higher fire rate cap for those of us that have good trigger fingers, although I still would like to see one that pushes it to about 600 rounds per minute or even beyond that so that we can really show off our trigger fingers, but at least it was a step in the right direction. The only thing that I really don't like about this rifle is the fact that it drops off from a 3 to a 5 shot kill immediately. Within that 5 shot kill range, this gun is essentially useless, and I think instead having that a 4 shot kill rather than a 5 shot kill range for a maximum number of shots to kill, I feel like that would have been more appropriate for this weapon. It still wouldn't be an amazing gun within that 4 shot kill range, but it would be at least a bit more usable. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about this rifle, and also let me know what you'd like me to cover next for this series. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time. You know what, Drifter? Go ahead. Tell Condry he can ban me. He'll probably just screw up and activate triple XP again anyways.